Hello, my name is Daniela and today I will be talking about impacts of whale shark tourism on Tanawan, Oslo, Philippines. Tanawan, Oslo, Philippines is known to host whale sharks. Whale shark tourism in this developing nation has supported economic growth and created alternative livelihoods for local people. However, there are critics of this activity since the well-being of this iconic species and its habitat is threatened. There is controversy surrounding this topic because of inconsistencies and insufficient evidence about the correlation between whale sharks, tourism, and negative impacts. Although it is a complex issue, this presentation provides some recommendations on how to improve whale shark conservation and avoid impacts on the reef ecosystem. The whale shark is the largest fish in the world. It is characterized by being a highly migratory species. However, Tanawan is a natural aggregation site. On shallow reef, whale sharks are provisioned or fed up to 50 tons of digested shrimp per year. This attracted more tourists, generating approximately $5 million annually. Tourism is thought to impact the health of the reef and of the whale sharks. Coastal development has decreased water quality and reduced the species richness and diversity of corals. The number of boats and recreational activities such as snorkeling and diving has increased, adding pressure to the ecosystem and whale sharks, which have shown physical injuries. Although tourists are informed about the codes of conduct and prohibitions, it is still an issue. Likewise, provisioning seems to alter the behavioral response and affect the patterns of residency of whale sharks. On the contrary, there are some positive outcomes of tourism. It has decreased overfishing on the reef. Also, illegal hunting and finning of this species have been eliminated, as fishers now protect whale sharks. However, the most important aspect is that tourism has lifted these communities out of poverty and support people's livelihoods. There are several stakeholders involved. Artisanal fishers have benefited from whale shark tourism since they are part of the Tanawan Oslo Whale Shark Association and have access to full-time, well-remunerated employment. Also, the residents of Tanawan are in favor of this activity as it provides fishers, hotel and restaurant owners with a way to pay for education, food, healthcare, and better housing for their families. The municipal government has granted permits to fishers for whale shark tourism, restricting access to other tourism industries, guaranteeing local livelihoods. The municipal government also allocates tourism revenues, approximately 30% of the ticket, to support the management of 5 marine reserves in Oslo. Finally, conservation groups and some research have opposed the provisioning based on the precautionary principle. They question the effect of tourism on the whale sharks and their habitats. The feeding of whale shark at this site has become a focus of debate. Whale sharks may associate the site with human feeding, which can change their feeding behavior and possibly their migratory patterns. Some papers detected the repeated appearance of individual whale sharks at provisioning sites for long periods. The residing time in Oslo was 44.9 days, significant compared to non-provisioning sites such as Utila, 12 days, and Ningaloo Reef, 33 days. However, there is insufficient evidence of the causal relationship of whale sharks being reliant on the food source. For example, in Donsol Bay, the average residency of whale sharks was 50 days without feeding. Furthermore, the photographic database shows 208 whale sharks and less than 5% shows site fatality. The rest depart for several weeks or months. Another point of disagreement is that the movement patterns of these individuals could be related to the size, since the smallest species were the most resident. Regarding the reefs, although one indicates a change in the coral community structure and water quality compared to another reef in Oslo, others mention efforts the residents have made to avoid contamination and control waste produced by tourists. The primary goal of whale shark tourism was to provide alternative livelihoods for fishers. However, the conservation of whale sharks and their habitat is needed. Some measurements have been proposed, including controlling the quality of effluents. In 2018, the use of hygienic products in beach waters was banned, and a new septic tank was installed for waste waste management. Street sweepers have also been employed to pick up litter, and there are suggestions to ban single-use plastic and increase recycled bins. Regarding on human behavior during interaction in terms of distance, the maximum number of people, and general practices are needed. Furthermore, regulations should be enforced and monitored to ensure compliance with the codes of conduct. Fishers must also obey their restrictions and avoid boats in the buffer zone. To control the number of visitors in Tunnel 1, tour prices must be increased so that communities' incomes are not affected. Finally, tourism is essential for the community. Thus, to guarantee an ethical and sustainable experience, it is necessary to avoid feeding practices and protect the reefs.